Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Her old was a fits, her left was it out. Her old was a fits, her left was it out. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Okay. Alright, let's do this.
Happy Halloween, everybody. We are doing the Craft Legacy review today. Oh boy, where do I start with this one? The Craft Legacy tells the story of, well, if you go to IMDb and look for the synopsis for this movie, it doesn't really tell you anything as far as the storyline. Don't believe me, I'll even read it to you and show you. A group of high school students form a coven of witches. A sequel to the 1996 film, The Craft. That's what they have written for the synopsis for this movie. I mean, if you look at the original synopsis for the Craft movie, it actually tells a story of what is happening in the movie. It gives you a general good observation without spoiling too much. With that, you shouldn't be surprised where I'm going to stand on this movie. Or maybe. Let me first start off about the main character in this movie who takes a journey, and that her and her mom are moving in with her, I guess, I don't know, Mulder from X-Files. I don't know if it's her fiance or her just boyfriend, and they're just, moving across states to go join sort of his family. He has 3 boys, and that is a difficult situation for our main character. We can tell Lily is her name, and I really enjoyed kind of the aspect of this new sort of world that she's diving in. It's very different. It brings up a lot of tension, a lot of situations. So I kind of dug that aspect of the story, and overall I gotta say I enjoyed, which is a little shocking to say, but I think the first like 30 minutes of this movie. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. And then that's kind of when things turned around. The Coven of Witches, you think they would be of importance, much like they were in the first movie. Not really. The story revolves around Lily. Pretty much the rest of the witches are just kind of background noisemakers. I mean, you don't really learn too much about their characters or their backgrounds or their history. They say they're sort of the outcast of this high school, but to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but they look the same as any other teenager in this high school. They don't look like they don't fit in. They just look like every other teenager. So there was no kind of hesitation of believing that storyline, that they're sort of the outcast of this school and they're the ones picked on. That I didn't follow that whatsoever. And some of the magic in here is okay. It's just kind of simple magic. It's not anything truly scary or dark or, mesmerizing. It's just regular teenage magic. And I kind of think that is the problem overall with the movie, besides the writing in here and the story structure is just not there. It's shot okay. It looks okay. It's just this, it's sort of like a teenage sequel to a movie that wasn't a teenage sequel. It was a 1996 movie, a rather mature and dark movie that went dark places. And this one, everything's kind of just, it's safe. It's safe. It's kind of the key word. It's just safe. There's not really much danger. And when it is on screen, you kind of laugh at it. I mean, where it goes, I think in that second part and the third part of this story, it's just kind of all over the place. You're just going to find yourself really annoyed of where it goes and confused and half of the time I just couldn't tell the difference of the characters. There was a love story there, and for some reason I thought it was like her stepbrother. It was very confusing. Things happen, you kind of accept that it's a sequel. Not really in terms of a true sequel. It's kind of like, hey, loosely based, like, you know, you felt like they were writing this and filming it in like the last day of the shoot, or maybe the last week of the shooting. They were like, oh crap, we got to tie this into The Craft. Throw out some ideas, people. That sounds good. We can film that in like 30 minutes or less. We can film this one scene to connect this film to the original. And there's talks of more. I don't think you should do more. I'm not interested in seeing where this goes. Unless they go a super cool, dark way with this, I don't think they will. Kind of the idea of The Craft is just a sequel that no one was asking for, that's kind of a muddled mess. It's a muddled mess with the characters are left. You don't know any of the characters besides Lily and her mom, and that's pretty much it. You don't know any of the background with the witches in the background. They're just pretty much background characters. The magic, while it's teenage fun, it's just not interesting enough. It's not as dark as I was expecting. It's a PG-13 movie. And by the way, this kind of brings up a bigger subject that I think the world needs to have a conversation with, studios. This was actually set to be a theater release. And if you didn't know that, it's written on a Wikipedia page that this was supposed to come to theaters, but Blumhouse, Sony, they decide to, take it and put it on VOD. Right now, you can rent it or buy it. I believe it's $19.99, almost $20 with tax. Certainly don't think it's worth that, and I certainly don't think it's worth going to a theater to watch. So I think that's the problem. Is a lot of times these studios think this movie is going to be set to release, and then you're sitting there watching it going like, this is something I could have watched on Netflix. I think they need to understand there's a balance there. There's something that's worth going to theater, and then there's stuff that's not worth going to theater. This is certainly not worth anyone's time to view it. If it was on Netflix, I would say maybe give it a watch in the background. Maybe you want to put this on at the start of your Halloween party or something. Just kind of throw it on in the background while you're doing other stuff. Maybe, but not to sit down and try to like soak up every single minute of this movie. I don't think it's quite worth that. For those who might say like, well, it's worthwhile if you didn't watch the original and this is for a new generation type of thing. I haven't seen the original Craft since the 90s, so I really don't have too much of a memory of it. So I went into this just kind of with fresh eyes, only knowing it's a sequel to that movie, but really almost as fresh as a regular audience would. Sorry. That's my thoughts. My score for The Craft Legacy. If you didn't know, we kind of came up with a new rating system. So Tasty Brains is at the top. That's like a 7 to 10. And then we have some Spare Parts, which is, I believe it's like 4 to 6. And then, No Zombie Ever Once Rotted, which is like a 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. I'll have it up on the screen anyway. This one, it's just rotted meat. No one wants this. It's not tasty. It's disgusting. It's just a bore. Once it comes to that second and third part of the film, it's just kind of boring. It's just rather lackluster in the storytelling. There's not really any thrilling, exciting moments, even though they try to make something happen in that third act. You're just kind of like, okay, that's what we're doing. And that is my review for The Craft Legacy. If you've seen it, leave it down in the comment section. What did you guys think about it? Thank you guys for the support on the channel, and thank you guys for being patient. It's really hard to crank out videos. I can't just get them out like other YouTubers because I have a daytime job. You know, I work like 7-8 hour shifts, and then by the time I get home, tired, I can't film stuff when I want to. But anyway, thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'll see you on another video very, very soon.